I was up at the office late the other night, about 1:30 in the morning, and my grandson was just leaving his computer. You know what teenagers and early 20s are like on computers. And he came back and he said, "Grandpa, there's a snake on the gate." And I said, "What do you mean on the gate?" He said, "It's right there. I put my hand to open the gate and up the snake leapt." Okay, time for opportunity, photo opportunity. Now, there we are. There is the snake, baby python for sure. So I went down and had a good look at our baby python. And as I looked at the sign on the gate, I thought we need a new one now. Beware of the dog, beware of the snakes. Australia can be like that. We've got an awful lot of pythons, which are not too harmful. And there's my last year's crop, quite up close. They came and they sniffed me out, so I put my hand down, and he would have a good old sniff with his tongue, because that's what he basically uses to sense where he is. But he's not going to hurt you at all. He barely even bites you unless he's really angry, and it's not venomous. But of course, he can strangle your dogs or your cats or rats or things like that. So we have some carpet pythons, named because they look like carpets. And our whole presentation the other night, just going back on the debate, involved the concept of snakes that used to have legs, involved the biblical principle of a dragon or a serpent that was cursed by God. So part of the evidence we presented in our debate format on Standing for Truth was the fact that devolution is the real history of the world, not evolution. Things have gone downhill. We'd encourage you, if you haven't seen some of these things on Standing for Truth, go to their channel and have a look. Of course, the news report from Australia involves a new mural. You'll see some Chinese characters on the right-hand side. You'll see the new mural of the Chinese version of the flood story. Yes, you heard me right. The Chinese have a traditional flood story going back to their ancestral characters who came to China. Biblically, of course, they came after Babel, and Babel came after Noah's flood. All right. Now, the characters on the right-hand side, the one at the top is traditionally called Quin, pronounced Chin, Chin. And that's a dynasty where we get the word Chinese from. And at the bottom, you'll see the Chinese character for boat. Now, I just didn't find this out. I had an old Presbyterian pastor, ex-missionary from China, who was kicked out by the communists. He introduced me to those sort of characters and said the Chinese character for boat is a big vessel with 8 people on it. And of course, he made a lot out of one big vessel that had 8 people on it, e.g. Noah's Ark. So that's part of a mural that's going up in our new Discovery Centre. And here's some background. The QIN, which is an antiquated way of spelling it, is actually pronounced CHIN in modern day English. And the people from Chin are Chinese, which you can see where we get our word Chinese from. If you know nothing about the Qin dynasty, then there it is, 221 to 206 BC. It was a significant period in Chinese history, known for things like the Great Wall. You say, why would we have a mural in the new museum on China and the flood? Well, the fact is, our museum is a place where quite a few Asians come, including Chinese, because it's an industrial site. And so the manager suggested, why don't we have information that can be used as a witness to them? And we thought, good idea. And one of the problems that troubles many people is you don't find China mentioned in the Bible. How do you get from the Tower of Babel to a Chinese version of Noah to modern versions of China? Let me show you what we found out. Here's the question that I took up seriously. Why do we call the study of Chinese things sinology? Sinology. Logy, of course, is the Latin Greek meaning a word about Sino. But why does Sino mean Chinese traditionally in English? I'll show you. There's the old character for the Qin or the Qin dynasty. Okay, stylized for sure, but that's what it is. Now, do you realize the trading in the ancient world was way bigger than most people think of? Oh, we only think of Marco Polo going to China. But the Chinese and the other nations traded backwards and forwards, and through the various trade pathways, the word Chin came into India. Oh, that's old Sanskrit. Now, I can't read Sanskrit. I'm very grateful that I found someone from Northeast India who can read Sanskrit. And they said that character is pronounced chin because that's what they used to call the people from China. And they wrote it down in Sanskrit. There's what they wrote down for me during the time of the third emperor of Magadha in the Indian subcontinent, 268 to 230 BC, that the region that is now China was known by various names, particularly Chin or Kin, as you and I spell it in modern versions of European languages. Now, this is before the Qin dynasty because you find the Qin family was there for 5 or 6 centuries before it became the dominant dynasty in the northern part of China. Following on, we've now got the word into Sanskrit. From there, it turns into Old Latin and Old Greek. But look, it doesn't start with a CHIN now, it starts with an S. Now, have you ever wondered how languages change? One way is, I know when the English took over Scotland and they started to write down our names and the way they spelt them, basically because we were all speaking variations of a dialect, their problem was, what did he say? Did he say Mackay, 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 McCoy? So we ended up with 5 or 6 different versions of how to spell our name. Okay, so you go from QCH to a soft CH, which becomes an S by the time it gets into Latin and in Greek. Now, most of you can read Latin, but I grew up having to read a bit of Greek too, having to learn things like that. And what you discover is the Greeks and the Latins basically called China the same thing, but they spelled it with an S. Because by the time they got out of India, the question was, what did they say? Now, I can't read Sanskrit, but I actually got the Sanskrit reader to confirm this. Yes, these people believe that China was spelt like that. Okay, how does it fit into your Bible? Genesis 10:17, Ham, Noah's son, gave rise to an offspring by the name of Canaan, gave us the Canaanites. You have the Tower of Babel, and then you find a group in Genesis 10:17 spelled Sinite. Now, you can read all sorts of discussions online by people who live in the West arguing over, are these foreigners? Are these Asians? Who are they? Are they the people from Sinai and the Arab Peninsula? Some even brave enough to suggest they're China. Let me tell you the steps that I took. There's your King James, because the Greek via the language of India got into the Latin or vice versa. They still fight about who got that first. It gets into your Sanskrit, it gets into your English version rather by your King James Bible, and that's what they translate Isaiah 49 as. Behold, there shall come from afar, and lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinims. There's the Hebrew. Of course, if you're reading from the left to the right, you can't read Hebrew. You read from the right to the left. The bottom line, the last word there, Sinim. There's no doubt about it. The King James is a very good translation, literally, of that Bible verse. It talks about the people from the north, the west, the east, etc., and from the land of Sinim. But I did one step further. I thought, I wonder how the Chinese put this and how do they read it? Now, you too can go online to your Blue Letter Bible and even find a Chinese version. They're the official one. See, Isaiah 49:12, that's in English. You can read that. The rest of you, well, people struggle because the Chinese don't use letters. They use symbols. And you see the last symbol on the bottom left-hand side? If you think you've seen something like that, you certainly have. It's in the Chinese letter. Well, I'll show you what I did. The easy way to get around this is just to press your Google Translator. And you've got that on the screen. Google Translator brings up this. Look, these come from afar, these from the north, these from the west, and these from the state of Qin. Now, in case you've forgotten, from the state of Chin, pronounced Chin, from which we get Chinese. Now, if you're trying to sort it out in English and Latin, you won't get very far. But by the time you go over to the Chinese versions and see how they translate it back into their language, you've got the Chinese as descendants mentioned in the Bible. No wonder they have the story of Noah's Ark. The Aborigines do too. We all have an ancestral version of Noah's story because we all got off the same boat. Technically, we're all boat people. So why do we call the study of Chinese sinology? There's the history. What did he say? Did he say ch? Did he say k? Did he say s? So we end up with sinology, the study of China. And if you're witnessing to Asian people and they don't know where they fit in, now you do. You can take them to Isaiah 49, you can take them to Genesis chapter 10, and you can actually trace these words all the way down to the modern Chinese version. So as we put up the history of China on a mural, this mural is 3 meters long, 2 meters high, and that will be a very prominent one as people come up the steps into the building at our new Creation Discovery Centre here in Queensland. Of course, if you're visiting, come and see us in Queensland, come and see our museum down in Tasmania, or pop into England when Joe and the others are there and see it in England.